So at this point, we all know about the decision that the Angels have ahead of them. I mean, the media can't stop talking about it, but whether or not they end up trading Shohei Ohtani really goes way deeper than just that trade. Whether they should trade Ohtani or not isn't just about this season. It speaks more to where this team's at and the direction that they need to go, whether that's to go all in and really try to win a World Series with this roster, or if it's time to just tear it all down and start over. The Angels are currently 51-49, 8 games back in the AL West and 4 games back of the final wildcard spot, with the Red Sox and the Yankees both 2 games ahead of them. And this is honestly about the worst spot that I thought the Angels could be in at the start of the season. Close enough where you can argue that they could still make a run at this, but clearly not one of the top contenders. So to be able to know which direction this team needs to go in, we have to really understand what we actually have in this roster. Well, the Angels have actually been one of the better offenses so far this season, ranked 6th in runs scored with a pretty balanced offense here that's 5th in on-base percentage, slugging percentage, WRC+, and position player F-WAR. Now, these guys have been slugging the way that they are because they've shown quite a bit of pop so far in their bats, with the 4th highest exit velo and the 6th best hard contact percentage and soft contact percentage. So they're consistently making really good contact, and they're getting a lot of these up in the air with the 3rd most fly balls and the 4th fewest ground balls. So it's not too surprising then to see that a lot of their slugging is coming from home runs. The Angels have been 3rd in home runs and homers per fly ball. So when it comes to how they've been hitting the ball, you have an offense that's really making quality contact, generally getting it up in the air, and a good amount of those are going for home runs. So now, like I said, they've also been getting on base too, but their approach could still use some work. The Angels have had the 6th best walk percentage in baseball so far, so they've done a pretty good job at laying off of pitches out of the zone, but in the zone, they've been really aggressive, swinging at the 3rd most pitches in the zone and the 10th most overall. And as a hitter, when you tend to swing more often, since you're being less selective, you tend to swing and miss more. And with this aggressive approach that the Angels have had, they've been 25th in making contact on pitches in the zone and 27th in contact percentage overall. Now on the other side of the ball, the starting rotation's been about middle of the road here, 21st in ERA and 19th in FIP, but their ERA minus is 18th and their FIP minus is 15th, with the 12th best F-WAR for starting pitchers. So the on-field results might be a bit worse than they seem, but what are this rotation's strengths and what have they struggled with? Well, the biggest strength of this rotation's just been their ability to miss bats and get strikeouts, ranked 6th in K percentage with the best contact percentage on pitches in the zone, out of the zone, and yet somehow the 3rd best contact percentage overall. So with this kind of stuff that's been really tough to just get a piece of, and the Angel starters attacking the strike zone with the 10th best zone percentage, they've kept hitters from being able to get quality contact against them with the 3rd best exit velo and hard hit percentage and the 6th best soft contact percentage. Now, even with all these strikeouts and getting a lot of weak contact, they've still had to deal with a lot of traffic on the base paths. The Angels' rotation's been 21st in whip, with most of that coming from walks, where they've been 27th in walk percentage. Now, even with the stuff that these guys have, and with how much they attack the strike zone, they're still giving up all these walks because they've been missing their spots quite a bit, with a 27th ranked location plus, and when they've been missing, they haven't got a lot of help from the hitters with the 21st ranked chase percentage. So the Angels rotation has some pretty good stuff that's going to get a lot of swings and misses and weak contact, but they're walking way too many guys and creating a lot of traffic for themselves on the base pass because they've been struggling with their command and they haven't gotten hitters to turn some of those balls into strikes for them. Now, as far as the bullpen, there's just not a lot of good things to say here. They've been 21st in ERA and 27th in FIP and F-WAR. Now, the one bright spot has been that they've at least been attacking the strike zone, 9th in zone percentage, but all around, this bullpen just needs a lot of work. Even with how much they're in the zone, the bullpen is still 23rd in strikeout percentage and 22nd in walk percentage, so they haven't been able to put hitters away once they get ahead of them, and they either end up walking them or giving them something good that they can hit. The Angels bullpen's been 28th in hard contact percentage, and since they haven't been able to get a lot of these on the ground, ranked 22nd in ground ball percentage and with the 10th highest launch angle, hitters have been doing a pretty well off these guys. They've been 21st in average allowed and 22nd in homers per 9. So overall, this bullpen's just been throwing a lot of strikes, but hasn't been able to put hitters away and either ends up walking them or just getting knocked around. So we have a really good and balanced offense with some average-ish starting pitching and a just terrible bullpen. As far as this season, especially given the fact that they've been one of the more injured teams this year, that doesn't look too promising for really trying to make a playoff run here without at least making a big move or a couple at the deadline. So you really almost have to start thinking about what are the pieces that we have on this team, and are we built to really compete now, or what does our future look like? So let's go ahead and start with what we have right now. And as far as any established veterans on this roster, like, of course you have Ohtani, but like, that's why we're doing this whole video in the first place. Then you have Trout, who's still one of the top players in the league, and you're locked into him. But other than these two, like, what else is there really on this team? Well, you have Brandon Drury, who has an 822 OPS with 14 home runs and a 122 WRC+, but he struck out and walked both worse than average, and last year was really his one good full season. Right now, you can find a role for him on a good team, but over his career, he's still below average offensively, so you kind of have to start asking yourself, like, how long is this gonna last? Taylor Ward has a 741 OPS, 12 home runs, and a 105 WRC+. He's been taking some pretty good at-bats over the last 2.5 years with good career averages offensively. He's not a middle-of-the-order kind of guy by any means, but definitely could be a piece on a winning team. In the rotation, Patrick Sandoval's pitched 93 innings and 17 starts with a 4.16 ERA and a 4.0 FIP. Those are good for a 96 ERA minus and a 91 FIP minus, so he's been a bit better than your average pitcher, but after a big step forward last year, this season's been a little underwhelming when you'd hope that he'd either repeat, if not get better than last season. Then out of the bullpen, Matt Moore's got a 2.17 ERA and a 4.26 FIP in 29 innings, but he's a free agent after this season. Carlos Estevez has a 2.08 ERA and a 3.75 FIP in 39 innings, and he's a free agent next offseason. Then Jaime Barria has a 2.53 ERA and a 4.32 FIP, with him being team controllable through 2025, but that split between the ERA and FIP does not look great. So right now you have a top tier center fielder, an infielder for about anywhere but short, and a corner outfielder that are more complementary pieces, a middle of the rotation starter that you hope can get back to being like a number 2 guy, and some older bullpen arms that either aren't really gonna be here long term, or bullpen guys can be really up and down. Looking at that, it's probably a long shot to say that this roster is really built to compete. So with that in mind, then what does the future really look like for this team? Well, then who would be those players that you're looking to build around long term? Again, not counting Ohtani here, the Angels currently have 5 guys, burgers and fries, that were top 100 prospects since 2018. Mickey Moniak was 2018's number 88 prospect. Griffin Canning was 2019's number 63. Joe Adell was 2020's number 6 prospect. Reed Detmers was 2021's number 74, and then Logan O'Hoppe is 2023's number 29 prospect. Moniak debuted with Philly in 2020 and hadn't really done much up until this year, where in 47 games he's hitting .331, .362, .615 with 11 home runs. Swinging it really good to start out here, but just like the rest of his career, his approach has really been lacking. He's striking out 30.6% of the time while only walking 2.9%. Canning debuted in 2019 and hasn't really been able to find his footing yet at the major league level. A career .467 ERA and .470 FIP. He's mainly struggled with giving up the long ball, a career 1.59 homers per 9. Now Adell might just go down as like the greatest quadruple A player ever, but since his debut in 2020, he has a career .625 OPS, 70 WRC+, and he struck out 35% of the time while only walking 4.7%. Detmers debuted in 2021. He's pitched better than it may look with a career .431 ERA and a .393 FIP, good for a 104 ERA minus, but a 93 FIP minus. And this is kind of like his last 2 years here in a nutshell, where he's had a higher ERA this year, but a better FIP when the Angels really needed him to take that full next step forward. And finally with Ohtani, he's come out of the gate pretty strong here. Debuted briefly last season and has a career 284, 347, 493 slash line with 4 home runs in 21 games, but he only played those 21 games because he was done for the year earlier this season with a torn labrum. Now, outside of the top 100 guys, you also have Zach Neto, who hit pretty good in his time in the minors, and he started his career with a 252, 328, 432 slash line with 8 bombs in 62 games. But the dude just got drafted last year, and he only played 44 games in the minors, so how much do we really know about him at this point? Then there's also a handful of young pitchers, guys like Ben Joyce, Sam Bachman, Jose Soriano, and Chase Silseth that they're more middle tier kind of prospects for the Angels here, and maybe there's something there. So you have Moniak with his first real taste of success, but this terrible approach is a big problem. Canning really hasn't had any success yet in the majors, and same with Adele, who is your highest rated prospect and has been nowhere near living up to the hype. Detmers has been a solid starter so far. Ohtani's been good, but now coming off of major season-ending surgery. Neto's been good, but he's barely played any just pro ball really, let alone the majors. And then you have a handful of just kind of unproven arms here. So really, as the Angels, you have to hope that Ohtani's going to come back from the surgery okay. Detmers is going to be able to take another step forward here, which he's 24, he should have time to be able to do that. You hope that Neto isn't just a huge kind of flash in the pan here, and then that Moniak, Adele, and Canning can show that they've really been able to figure out the major leagues. So you've got potentially a couple pretty valuable pieces here, but there's just a lot of question marks around most of these guys. So if you're the Angels looking to build this roster going forward, you have to start with the money that's already committed. And the big contracts that you're looking at are obviously Trout, who's 32 and signed for $35.5 million AAV through 2030, and Rendon, who's 33 and signed for $35 million AAV through 2026. Both of these contracts are obviously big parts of your payroll, and they're gonna be pretty difficult to try to move. I mean, Rendon's way more than Trout. You could probably still find somebody to take Trout's contract if you acted soon enough here, but Rendon's played 148 of a possible 424 games since 2021. That's 35%. Nobody's taking that contract right now, and I don't see that getting any better as he gets older. So you're gonna have to wait out Anthony Rendon's contract, but other than him and Trout, the rest of your guaranteed money is really only going through 2025. Tyler Anderson's making $13 million AAV through 2025. You can clear $9 million from Eduardo Escobar and $7.5 from Aaron Loup by declining their club options this offseason. Then you have Max Stassi as your backup catcher for $5.83 million AAV through 2024 until he has a club option. And then finally, you still have David Fletcher on a $5.2 million AAV deal through at least 2025 before he has club options. Your only free agents this year are Hunter Renfroe and Gio Urshela. Then the rest of the team is still under team control. So really, outside of Trout and Rendon, the Angels have a lot of flexibility over the next couple of years. So now where does all of this leave the Angels? Not just with Ohtani here at the deadline, but what's the plan for this team going forward? It doesn't really look like the Angels have the kind of firepower that they're gonna need to really be competitive here in the near future. They'd really have to rely on a lot of these younger guys that haven't been able to fully put it together yet, or still have some question marks for different reasons. It's one of the most painful things to go through as an organization and a fan base, but the Angels, as they're built right now, they don't look like they're going to be able to get it done anytime soon. So sometimes it's just better to rip the band-aid off and get the healing started, no matter how painful that may be. Look, is it going to suck to trade Ohtani? Obviously, of course it's going to. The dude's hitting 302, 397, 668 with 35 home runs, a 1.065 OPS, and 183 WRC plus, while also giving you a 3.71 ERA and 4.29 FIP in 111 and 2/3 innings, with a 32.3% strikeout rate and 195 average allowed. The dude is just otherworldly talented, but it's going to take way more than the Angels might be able to pull off to help just not only him, but this whole team really win a World Series. If I'm the GM of this team, it's time to burn this thing to the ground and start over. Starting with trading Ohtani, along with Trout if I can do it, and any other player that I don't see being here in 3 to 5 years as a part of this team going forward. So anybody that I can trade to get as much young talent and potential into this organization as I can, I'm gonna make those tough decisions. But this is just what I do, and it's way easier for me to say this just talking into a microphone, so let me know what you think about all this. What should the Angels do, not just here with Ohtani and not just for this year or next year, but how do they get back to being legit contenders again? Comment below, let me know what you think about all this. Also, please like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications to help out the channel, and so that you don't miss any new baseball content like this when we drop new videos on Wednesdays and Sundays. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out the video that's on your screen now to see Kevin Gausman's journey from nearly being a huge bust to turning himself into a bona fide ace. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Have a good one. Later.